Okay, turn around and wave to the camera.
Hi, camera.
And now, Trey, you need to spin around and show behind you. Okay. Did you know your favorite coffee mug used to be a pile of soft clay? Well, in Britannica, which is an encyclopedia, in the article Pottery, it talks about how clay goes from being soft clay to hard, durable ware in the ceramic process. As a potter, I am well versed in the ceramic process and have been creating pottery for 7 years. Through this process, clay turns from soft, formable mud almost to fully food safe ware. So, clay is in our everyday life. It is one of the most common things for your dishware to be made out of, and it's very common for mugs and cups to be made out of ceramics too. So, in the next few minutes, I would like to talk to you about how clay goes from being soft to fully food safe. So, when clay is soft, it is completely moldable and formable. This is because tiny particles and the water content that's in the clay. The tiny particles in the clay are able to help the clay be able to hold its form because they lock together. And Ken Gray of Blue Dog Ceramics, in the article Pottery Chemistry Exploring Clay Composition on March 23rd, it talks about how clay with more particles is better to work with than clay with not as many particles. So short clay, which means the clay is just short on all these particles, is more likely to crack. So think about like a puzzle piece. Clay that is not short on these particles will stick together like a puzzle piece. And a piece of dirt, it will just crumple, and that's like short clay because there's not anything holding it together. Water content is also really important in this step because the water is what's allowing the clay to move. In Science Direct, which is a scientific website full of just a lot of things, in the article measuring the plasticity of clay that was published in 2010, it talks about how water allows the clay to move. Water acts like a lubricant in between the tiny particles of the clay, and that's what makes the clay moldable. So if you work with clay that's too dry, so a lower water content, it's harder to move. It's harder for it to move, and it's probably going to be more brittle and crack more. And water that is softer is going to be way easier to move. Like a slip and slide. If you are going to slip down a slip and slide with no water, it's not going to have enough friction for you to slip and slide. But if you go on one with a lot of water, you're going to be able to slip and slide easily. Now that we've talked about the soft part of the clay, let's talk about how clay becomes hard and fully food safe by extreme heat, and then it turns into fully food safe ware from the process vitrification. So when clay is exposed to this extreme heat, it is able to change from something that it's able to change into something that's watertight. So in Education of Chemistry, in the article Pottery Chemistry that was published in 2012, it talks about how clay is able to, or it talks about how this extreme heat changes the clay into watertight, or it changes the clay to be watertight. So that's how your mug is able to hold coffee, or your bowl is able to hold soup. So when the clay goes through this extreme heat, all the particles start to shrink together, and then when they shrink together, they start to bond. So that's what is making your clay watertight. So imagine when you bake a cake, you're never going to be able to, after it comes out of the oven, you won't get your milk or your flour or your eggs back because it's going through this chemical change, which just means it won't be able to go back. So water won't be able to turn the clay back into a moldable form again. And now let's talk about vitrification and how that helps turn pottery into a fully food safe, okay? Vitrification is the act of turning clay from a porous material to a non-porous material. So in Britannica, which is a encyclopedia, in the article Vitrification by Thomas O. Mason, it talks about how vitrification is just the reduction of porosity in the clay. So think about like wood. Like you don't want to use a wood cutting board because it is a porous material and that's holding all of the bacteria of the food into the wood, so it's unable to be washed out. But vitrified pottery is able to become fully food safe, and it won't harbor any bacteria that will be unbacterially safe. And over the next few minutes, I hope you have learned a little bit more about how ceramics goes from clay to fully food safe ware. And just to recite, in Britannica, an encyclopedia in the article Pottery by George in the article Pottery, it talks about how clay goes from soft to fully durable food safe ware. Thank you.
You hit play, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You already stopped.
Yay.